the most posh foods in the world made only for the most discerning of palates. Here are 15 of the most expensive foods in the world. Fugu. That's right, the puffer fish makes it onto the list. Not because of how dangerous it is, but because this fish is going to set you back a pretty penny. In some restaurants, this portion of fish goes for upwards of $500. This might have something to do with the fact that if it's prepared improperly, it'll cost you more than money. It might just cost you your life. The puffer fish contains a deadly neurotoxin which has enough potency to kill everyone sitting at the table. Luckily, the standards when preparing and serving fugu are extremely rigorous, and only a chef who has completed their training, which is sometimes 3 years or more, will be serving it to you. This fish is lauded for its mild flavor and somewhat tough consistency, and the risk factor doesn't seem to stop people from craving this underwater delicacy. Saffron. This rare spice comes from the Middle East, most notably Iran, which makes up 90% of the world's production. It's commonly used as a seasoning or coloring agent in food and can be identified by its vibrant red fibrous strings. It has a distinct fragrance that some connoisseurs liken to the smell of fresh-cut hay. It has been traded and consumed for thousands of years and was a popular staple of the Silk Road and other famous trading routes. Just 1 kilogram of the prized spice can go upwards of $5,000. Talk about a salty price point. This puts it firmly in the space of the world's most expensive spice. Caviar. It would be a downright injustice not to include caviar in a list of most expensive foods. In fact, we'd be willing to wager that it was one of the first things that came to mind when you think about expensive foods. It's true that caviar is synonymous with fine dining, and there's a reason for that. Production of caviar comes with a time-intensive process that involves the cultivation of rare fish species like sturgeon or salmon. This accounts for a bulk of its hefty price. Some of the rarest caviar of all time comes from the rare albino sturgeon and fetches a price of over $30,000 for around 2 pounds of the stuff. Talk about an expensive dinner bill. Oysters. People may be surprised to see oysters on this list. What used to be a food fit for anyone has now become a delicacy due to overfishing and reduction in supply. Put simply, an oyster is a type of mollusk that comes from a variety of saltwater habitats. They are one of the world's oldest cultivated foods, dating all the way back to 2000 BCE. In the United Kingdom, there are a variety of festivals held each year in celebration of the popular dish. One of the most notorious is the Woburn Oyster Festival, which is one of the oldest and most proclaimed in all the world. While many are more familiar seeing oysters come out of a tin, there is a rich and vibrant history of oysters being eaten fresh. While it's not our place to tell anyone how to enjoy their meals, if you want the real deal, it might be worth your time to hop on a plane to the town of Whitstable in the UK and try an oyster cultivated with the same technique and care that has been shown since the time of the Romans. Goose Barnacles. Goose what now? Is it poultry? Is it mussel? Well, actually, it's neither. Goose barnacles, also known as stalked barnacles, are a distinct-looking crustacean that are very hard to come by. They're largely regarded as one of the most precious seafoods in the world, and when you figure out how hard they are to harvest, it's easy to see why they command such an expensive price. Stalked barnacles are very popular in countries like Spain and Portugal, and they can fetch up to $125 per pound. There are very few commercial harvesting operations in the world, and this also contributes to their inflated price. Many restaurants look at these little-known crustaceans as a delicacy and serve them steamed. If you're intimidated by the look of these underwater morsels, fear not. Many people rave about the most common preparation, in which they're boiled in brine and served steaming hot under a napkin to retain moisture. We won't twist your arm, but there's a reason that they've survived on menus for all this time, and we think that might be worth investigating. Vanilla. We know what you're thinking. Vanilla can't be that expensive. It's in everything. Yes, vanilla can be found in everything from our lattes to our baked goods. But what you may not know is that oftentimes this flavor that we've all come to love is made with vanilla extract, which is a far cry from the actual flour that it's made from. This extract usually contains at least 35% alcohol, which stretches the aroma and flavor of the popular plant, but also greatly dilutes dilutes it. True vanilla is actually only successfully cultivated in a few regions of the world, and the standards are high. The process is rigorous, involving steps that include harvesting, curing, drying, conditioning, and grading. That's a lot of steps for just some flavoring for our coffee. All these things considered has landed vanilla, the real stuff, on our list of most expensive foods in the world. Extra virgin olive oil. This next entry is arguably the most popular on our list. It's used in kitchens all over the world and takes the cake for one of the best cooking oils to ever grace a saucepan. We're, of course, talking about extra virgin olive oil. This particular oil is derived from species of olives that are prone to cultivation in the Mediterranean parts of the world. Characteristics of this oil include no more than 0.8% free acidity, which refers to the basic acidic content of the substance. Only the choicest olives are chosen to be made into extra virgin olive oil, and some even go further to cultivate their own genus of olives for this very purpose. It has a long and storied history, dating back to some of the earliest recorded sources. In fact, it's so popular that we'd be willing to bet most of you have it in your kitchens at home. The rigorous standards and practices put in place to produce the oil puts it firmly on our list of most expensive foods in the world. Matsutake mushrooms. For just over $600 for 2 pounds, Matsutake mushrooms command a high price and are in even higher demand. The number of mushrooms put into the supply chain has dropped in recent years due to several invasive insect and flora species in the areas of production. While this may have damaged supply for the food, it has done nothing to quell the staggering demand. These mushrooms are largely considered a delicacy due to their rarity and distinct taste. Wagyu Beef. The king of all beef, this variety of red meat comes from a long lineage of cows bred and raised in Japan. It has an extremely high fat content, which results in a buttery and silky taste texture that quite literally melts in your mouth. While there are many varieties of Wagyu beef, only the truest and most exquisite cows receive the A5 authenticity, which certifies that it's among the best cuts in the world. It may have originated in Japan, but the desire for Wagyu has reached nearly all corners of the world. Much of this prized meat is shipped overseas to America, where chefs and home cooks alike relish in the chance at tasting a once-in-a-lifetime steak. It may seem unattainable for some, as steaks made from Wagyu often command a price of over $100 a pound, but there are certain vendors and establishments that offer small portions for those just looking for a taste. Wagyu doesn't have to be a dream, it can be a reality. Well, a reality if you're willing to part with some hard-earned cash, that is. Bluefin Tuna. The bluefin tuna is perhaps the most prized fish ever to come out of a body of water. It's synonymous with sushi, and many Japanese chefs can be seen at auctions long before restaurant hours for a chance to bid on one of these prized specimens. The true value comes from the immaculate meat-to-fat ratio, which many diners say is the reason that the fish is so good. Before the rapid dissolution of Japan's wet auctions, it was not uncommon for one of these bluefin tuna to be sold for over $20,000 US, making it one of the most expensive foods of all time. Chefs would then be able to make several dishes from the fish and ask nearly $100 per plate for a chance at tasting the tuna. This is just another testament to the notion that if you want to try the world's best, you need to put your money where your mouth is. White truffle. The white truffle is a species of truffle that grows prominently in the south of Europe. Its rarity and taste has given it a firm spot on our list of most expensive foods. Just 1 kilogram of the substance will set you back upwards of $3,000. The record for the most expensive white truffle ever bought and sold came in 2007, when a Macau businessman paid over 330,000 big ones for one rare specimen that weighed just over 3 pounds. If you're looking to try white truffle, you're going to have to part with some serious cash. That, or you could take a trip to southern Europe and train a pig to sniff them out. It's common practice, we swear. We'll leave the hard decisions up to you. Yubari King Melon. If there's one thing that Japan does right, it's food. The Yubari king is a type of melon or cantaloupe that is cultivated almost exclusively in the province of Hokkaido. This province has a history of giving the world some of its most famous dishes and is even home of one of Japan's most famous beers, Sapporo. One of the distinct features of the Yubari king is its almost perfect sphere shape, which is only garnered through a series of intense cultivation methods. Not only this, but the rind must be incredibly smooth to meet the standards of melons that have come before it. In 2008, a pair of the Yubari King melons went for 2.5 million yen, or almost 20,000 grand. Now that's an expensive fruit. Foie Gras. Whatever your take on foie gras, it can't be denied that it's one of the most controversial and highly demanded foods ever to find its way onto diners' plates. Foie gras is, put simply, the fatty liver of a duck or goose that has been force-fed. It's a popular delicacy in France, where most of the supply and demand for the dish can be found. It can be prepared hot or cold in a wide variety of dishes, but one thing that keeps people coming back for more is its one-of-a-kind taste and texture. People claim that it has a rich, buttery, and delicate flavor, and despite some people's take on the method of production, it remains a staple on French menus everywhere. A number of countries have outlawed the sale and import of the food, but this hasn't stopped people from enjoying it all over the world. At a premium, of course. Black watermelon. Once again, a food from Japan finds its way onto our list. Whatever they're doing over there, they must be doing it right, because this fruit has been known to fetch over $6,000 at auction. The prized black watermelon, or densuke watermelon, is a special breed of watermelon that requires close attention and dedication in order to grow. It's such an intense process that fewer than 100,000 are produced every year. It has a unique taste and texture that some people would say is sweet, tangy, and crunchy. They're given at times of celebration, such as weddings, holidays, or spiritual gatherings. What sets this melon apart from others of its kind is its striking black color and interesting inner structure, making it the most expensive watermelons ever sold. Care for a taste? I guess that depends on who's picking up the check. Kopi Luwak coffee. Kopi Luwak is the Rolls-Royce of coffees. Don't expect to see it on your average coffee shop's menu. This rare form of coffee is created by collecting the fermented droppings of the Asian palm civet, a rare species of cat found only in Asia. These tree cats eat coffee beans from the surrounding area, which is then fermented in the gut of said cat before it's, released from the cat's bowels and collected for later use. While its method of production might be a tad unsavory, it's largely agreed that you cannot find a finer coffee. For $100, you can be the proud owner of just over 2 pounds of the product. Just be sure to have an answer when your guests ask you where it came from. Looking for more awesome videos? Well, we've got them, so stay right here and check out another one.